All right, welcome everybody. We are Facebook Live here with a good friend of mine, Colby Knepp, and we want to talk about sleeping habits, right? How that impacts our overall health. Now, I know that most of the time when I'm going Facebook Live, this is conversations around real estate. Yet, health and fitness and wellness is just something that I've always been passionate about. I have some background in it, and wanted to talk with Colby just about it. So Colby, before we dive into that, right, for those that are watching that may not know who you are, give us your stories. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, right on, man. Well, customer of yours, right? So there's the connection there. I'm not in real estate. I am a men's health coach, and so my expertise is in behavior change around all things health and fitness. And so, sleep's going to be a really good discussion. We spend a third of our life, some of us less, some of us more, in bed sleeping, and that's something that really is low hanging fruit. If you can improve your sleep, just about everything else in your life goes better. So I'm looking forward to diving in.
Yeah, I love this concept as well. When you said it's low hanging fruit, I love this concept around what I've come to known as the halo effect, right? We create one positive new habit in our lives, and just the large impact that has on everything else around it. So, Um, but I wanted to talk to Colby about sleep habits because this is. Oh, I think we lost Colby. There he is. Um, there we go. I've got your audio back. Um, Wanted to talk around the sleep habits because I've done this in my personal life, both a little more erratic in my habits, and they've been very intentional around my habits. So um, it's really important from what I've learned and what I've researched in how you choose to go to bed and how you choose to wake up. So I know uh, you've got some experience in this, and you have done some other research around it. Let's talk just about one. I want to talk about electronics. Right,
Uh,
our phone is connected to it all the time. Everybody's phone is right there on the nightstand. Right, it's the last thing we do before we go to bed. What impact is this having on sleep habits? Right.
well, I think it's pretty well documented. Look no further than I think overwhelmingly 60 to 70% of Americans report that they don't get enough sleep. Actually saw a post today that I don't know if this is true or not, but humans are the only mammals that will actively, consciously disregard and push off sleep. Right? It's like a form of avoidance, a form of self sabotage. We've all been there, up late, maybe, we're just too tired to get up and go to bed, or we just don't want to go to bed because we hate our job. Whatever it is, there's something in it that's just like, oh, just like another hour of Netflix, right? Just another episode of Game of Thrones. We've all been there. Just another cocktail, whatever it is. Um, but yeah, man, when it comes to sleep hygiene, it's like, and especially electronics, one of the easiest things that you can do is just actually go buy a real alarm clock, something that you can just keep on a desk in the room. So that way you're not tempted to grab your phone, set your alarm on the phone and, somehow get plugged down the rabbit hole of notifications, social media, emails, text messages, all these things. The modern environment that we live in, we are just inundated with distractions. And that's not what we have adapted to take on, right? It's just so overwhelming and so distracting. If there's an 8-hour window of the day that we should not be distracted and should not be have our attention split, it's those 8 hours when really we should be in bed resting. And so, phones, man, and electronic devices, they emit a certain frequency of light. It's called blue light, and this blue light mimics basically the rising sun. And so this blue light, it's at a very specific wavelength, delays the onset or the release of melatonin in your brain. And this then keeps you awake and makes it, number one, harder to fall asleep. Number two, harder to stay asleep. And number three, harder to get back asleep if you are able to go to sleep. There's probably some studies on this. I'll have to go back into my notes and find it. But, an hour of electronics before bed can disrupt your sleep. I mean, pretty significantly, to the tune of like 20 to 30% less REM sleep, REM, which is rapid eye movement. That's when most of the healing and most of the recovery actually occurs. One interesting thing I learned in preparing for this is that there's actually two very different phases of sleep. The, before the early morning, so like at nighttime when we're sleeping, and then in the early hours in the morning to when we wake up, two totally different things are happening. One is physical renewal, where our muscles and our digestion and our physical body is being recovered and renewed. And then the other is our mental, emotional memory, the mental side. So I thought that was really interesting, that I used to think that, well, if I just go to bed late, I'll be okay. I can still get a good 5 or 6 hours, whatever it is. But it turns out if you go to bed later than, I don't know what the number is, 1 a.m. or something like that, you're missing out on a crucial chunk of healing for your body and for your mind. So electronics, man, it's really hard to do because they're designed to be addictive. They're designed to keep our attention. But honestly, one of the best tips I ever picked up was this idea of a digital sunset. And a digital sunset is just that, right? We have evolved over the years. When the sun goes down, we would be at a campfire, right? And that was it. There's no more light. That was it. Now, obviously, in the modern world, things are a little bit different. And so just setting some really healthy boundaries around device and electronic usage going to bed. And if you're the type of person listening to this where you wake up and you check email first thing, that's cool. Do that, keep that behavior, but instead work on the back end of your sleep, like before you go to bed. Start building it there and then get into kind of changing your morning, if that makes sense.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's you and I are kind of in that same age group. We remember a time before cell phones. Now it seems like just ages ago that we didn't have cell phones, right? And all this connection. I remember learning at a young age to set my alarm clock on the other side of the room, right? Set it on the other side of the room. And then all I had to do in the morning was to get out of bed, shut off the alarm, and then just fight that urge to go back to bed, right? To curl up in those warm sheets, right?
Dude, 100%.
Now, as we're messing with our cell phones before we go to bed or we're watching TV, the cell phones is probably the biggest culprit of it. But I'm hitting a button, I'm getting a like, I'm checking Facebook, I'm playing a game, right? It's Candy Crush or Clash of Titans or whatever it is people play on cell phones. I'm probably a bad millennial. I don't play cell phone games. I'm just not connected to it that way. But it's actually it's creating a dopamine hit every time I pass a level, every time I get a like or I find something to post or to reshare. So it's actually causing the adverse effect from starting to wind down and get my body ready for sleep, right?
Oh, totally, man. Dopamine's really interesting. So I've been researching this, I'd say extensively, probably more than your average person. Not like a neuroscientist or some expert, right? So, view all of what I'm about to say through that lens. But dopamine's interesting because it's the molecule that actually gets us moving. Dopamine is the thing that will spark us into action. And it's the molecule that when we see a potential reward or a potential payoff, that's the thing that kind of gets us, oh yeah, I need to go do that. And so, when you get the like or when you get the comments or, whatever the video game is, when it just kind of clicks in your brain, what we're doing is actually reinforcing a neural network to make that, so our brain will learn, when I feel sad, I can just go post something on Facebook and feel better within 5 minutes, whatever, however we do it, right? Food is the same way, gambling, alcohol, there's so many different things. Our electronics are no different, right? This is an external substance, if you will, that can actually impact our biochemistry on the inside if you're not careful. So, I would say that bedtime is probably not the best time because, you could get, I could just imagine in the real estate world or in the business world, if you're running a company or running a team, you could get an email or a text message as you're just kind of winding down and you're finally ready to disconnect that just sends you down a freaking rabbit hole of stress and anxiety. And then you're back to stress and panic mode, kicked off the fight or flight. Your sympathetic nervous system is active and there's no way you're falling asleep when your sympathetic nervous system is kicked on. So, I would say, dude, honestly, just like setting boundaries, really, really healthy boundaries around cell phone usage, device usage. TV in a bedroom is a big one. A lot of my clients struggle with. It's like, well, I watch TV before I go to bed. And if they really want to optimize and get really good sleep, then it's pretty well documented. That's not going to get you there.
Yeah, get rid of the TV. That's I have very few things that I'm adamant about around my house. There's a conversation my wife and I had for about a moment because she's on the same page. We're not going to have a TV in the bedroom. I'm pretty strict around the cell phone. And to your point, there's probably some real estate agents that I know that are tuning into this broadcast. And when you're dealing with the largest financial transaction that somebody may make in their life, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Right. And there's so many moving parts and components to it between, the lending, the title company, the inspector, all of the different pieces that are moving. And as a real estate agent, kind of spinning a lot of those plates all at the same time, you may get an email that's 11 o'clock at night, to your point, sends you down a rabbit hole.
Does that ever happen to you?
Well, it does. It happens frequently. And yet what I've done is exactly what you've talked about, is setting some boundaries. In fact, when my gym is open up and functioning fully, wake up at 4:30, get to the gym at 5. So I go to bed at 9, right? I just fall asleep. I need that much sleep to be able to function.
Yep.
So anybody that emails me or calls me at 9 o'clock, my phone is on Do Not Disturb. They don't get through. Now, there's several phone numbers that I have programmed in there that if they call me after that, it'll go through.
I'd like to think I'm one of those. Just kidding.
Yeah. If there's an emergency, right? My dad needs to get a hold of me for something. They can get through, right? So it happens, and there's things that get to be dealt with in the next morning, right?
Oh, 100%, man. I have a client, he's a GM of a pretty well-known auto dealer here in Denver. He just got this job after 15 years in the industry. He was like a sales manager, sales director, just got the GM job. He's the man. He's like running the show. He's loving every second of it, but he's stressed beyond belief. He's like, this is not what I thought the job was.
It never is.
100%. And we just talk about boundaries, what time realistically do you need to shut down and leave? What time do you need to wake up and get a workout in? What time do you need to start your workday? When do you turn the phone off, right? Just like having this dialogue around number one, what he's able to operate in. Number two, communicating that to his wife and then to all the stakeholders in his life. He's like, man, I've never felt better, right? It's just like boundaries go so far, not just with, media usage, but toxic people, unhealthy foods, all the different things.
Yeah, no doubt. Setting those boundaries and then just keeping to them. So electronics is a big thief around healthy sleep. And you touched on something that I want to talk about here real quick, and it's that recovery, that sleeping recovery. Now, you and I were both into CrossFit, used to compete. So for those who are CrossFit fans, you'll know the name Rich Froning Jr. If you don't know the name Rich Froning Jr., he was on another level for fitness as it relates to CrossFit. So check him out. He's got a book out, definitely a positive one to follow. But he talks about, for athletes, he believes less in overtraining than he does under recovery. He believes that under recovery is a bigger hindrance to somebody's success than the overtraining. And your sleep pattern is your body's natural recovery mechanism. So if you're wanting to improve your overall health, getting better sleep, I think most people watching this or listening to it would agree it's a great place to start, is to get better sleep, right?
Oh, dude, 100%. Here's again, low-hanging fruit. Track your sleep. Get a sleep tracker for a month. Just do it for 30 days. You don't have to commit to anything crazy. I tracked it for 16 months, a long time. But I would say, dude, the one thing that I've seen make the biggest impact on a person's sleep is, number one, awareness of like, oh, wow, okay, the tracker said I slept 5.5 hours. And it's like, how do I feel? I feel like shit. Okay, well, begin to get a I don't know, a reference point for these different numbers. It's like, okay, well, try to, sleep a little bit longer. There's a device on the market called Whoop, WHOOP. It's marketed as like a, performance fitness type deal. It's a wearable, wear it on your wrist, super convenient, syncs right to your device. It's the only device, that and the Oura Ring, O-U-R-A, the Oura Ring, I've actually seen change a person's behavior without any intervention from a coach. It's literally just like, man, I noticed that if I follow my bedtime routine, if I get to bed at this time, wake up at this time, everything else in my life just goes so much better because I'm rested, I'm recovered, I'm able to actually handle more stress and handle more, pressure from my environment, from my career, from my family, and just operate at a much higher level. So, if you feel like you're underperforming, you probably are. Low-hanging fruit, improving your sleep. And here's the other thing too. It's like when you have the conversation, people say, I want to have better sleep. It's like, okay, well, what does that mean, right? What does that mean? I want to have better sleep. How will you know that you're actually having better sleep? And so getting really clear and specific on the metric or two in your life that you want to measure as a, I don't know, just a way to keep a reference point for if the whole experiment of getting better sleep actually is benefiting you. For a lot of people, man, so a lot of my specialty is in nutrition coaching. Nighttime cravings and sugar cravings are really highly correlated with poor sleep. Part of that has to do with decreases in testosterone levels, but also the mental recovery. When we don't get a good night's sleep, we don't recover our willpower. And so when we go into the next day tired, we're way more likely to get off track on our diet, on our exercise, not really follow through on the big projects that we kind of want to. And so a good night's sleep, man, physical recovery, absolutely. But also being able to mentally be there, be present, and be strong is crucial when it comes to, operating in real estate or in any domain.
Yeah, gosh, there's some great studies just around both mental and physical fatigue on your ability to have willpower. And I've got some interesting anecdotal stories around that we can dive to in another time.
I'd love to. Yeah.
One of them was around the difference in your brain memorizing a 2-digit number versus a 7-digit number, and how likely it was to impact your willpower for making positive food choices or not.
Huh.
Right? We're talking about the difference of 5 digits only, right?
Yeah.
It's very interesting what willpower is impacted just around that. So I want to shift gears here a little bit from electronics and specifically talk around a different electronic. Now, this is in the wake up pattern, right? Alarm goes off, and what do most people do? They roll over and they're just not quite ready, right? So
fuck that shit.
Right? I'm going to hit that snooze button, and what's going on, right? I hit the snooze button once, twice, 10 times. What's that doing to my sleep habit, my overall ability to get good sleep?
First of all, I think it's reaffirming that there's something in that person's life that needs to be addressed. Like if you're not waking up amped and excited, not every day, but some days like, okay, time to go, get up, let's hustle, right? Something off. Maybe look into that, right? That can oftentimes be the cause. I work with a lot of people who they just fucking hate their jobs, right? They're just like, oh, I don't want to go to work again. I got to deal with da-da-da-da. And a lot of times we can just change their mental frame heading into the day to number one, start getting up earlier to have some me time, some self time. But number two, what you're doing is you're not getting more sleep. You're getting really interrupted, broken sleep when that alarm goes off every 5 or 10 minutes, right? The snooze. And so the easy fix here, number one, if you're having a really hard time waking up in the morning, right? If you're waking up with more than one alarm, you need to catch up on sleep. That's it. I would really encourage you to schedule out or block out 3 or 4 days, if possible, to just sleep in and wake up when you naturally can, right? Whenever your body's ready to wake up without an alarm. That's going to allow you to catch up on your sleep debt a little bit. And it shouldn't take long. 2 to 3 days on average is what I see in my clients, is if they can, put the boundaries in place with their wife or with their spouse. With kids, it's a whole nother story. Unfortunately, when they're up, it's just like, well, we're partying. Here we go, right? So I understand that context. But if you're able to, sleeping in until your body naturally wakes up will give you, number one, you're going to just feel way, way, way better. But number two, you're going to begin to understand your circadian rhythms, your patterns of energy expenditure and energy renewal. And then you can begin to start, okay, let's say, man, I wake up at 7, but that's just not doing it. I want to wake up at 5 a.m. like Matt. I want to go to the gym and get it in. Cool. Waking up at 7 and waking up at 5 is a humongous difference, right? I would encourage you to, if you're at that point where you're trying to wake up earlier, go in 15-minute increments. try to go consistent 3, 4, 5 days. Go another 15 minutes, 3, 4, 5 days, go another 15 minutes till you get to where you want to go. A 2-hour shift like that is a major stressor on your body, right? Your body wakes up like, oh, this must be important. This must be really important if you're waking me up 2 hours early. Oh, we're just going to the fucking gym. What are we doing? What is this? It's a weird thing, man. But
and the motivation to go to the gym when you're that tired and you've interrupted yourself, it doesn't come naturally, right? So we're compounding, I think, the problem by, okay, now I've been waking up at 7 or I've been waking up at 8. Now all of a sudden I'm going to start waking up at 4 or 5 or whatever that might be to go to the gym because I want to build this gym habit. Well, now I'm trying to build multiple habits all at the same time, and I'm exponentially making this more difficult on myself to achieve my goals. Right.
Oh, dude, and one of the another idea here is to plant something in the mornings, some activity, something that you really enjoy that's going to get you excited to wake up. For me, it's coffee and reading. I get not long, 10 to 15 minutes before the rest of the family kind of gets going or before I'm out the door to go train. But I just really look forward to 15 minutes of silence where I can just sip a cup of coffee, man. No Facebook, no messages, no problems, no fires to solve. Just me, some alone time reading. I really look forward to that. Some of my clients are journaling. Some like to go on walks. A big mental shift that I had to make after having kids and starting my coaching business is that the morning should really be about renewal and bringing energy in versus giving energy out. So far too often, man, when people come into my ecosystem of coaching, they're waking up 5 minutes to brush their teeth and in the car, latte, burrito on the way, get to the office, first meeting, and they're still waking up, and if I can get them to shift their thinking that the first 60 to 90 minutes of the day should really be about bringing energy in through exercise, healthy food, some sort of mindfulness or awareness practice, simple as reading, just direct your focus and direct your attention on something. Could be breath work, could be meditation, could be journaling, some sort of mental training. It's going to set the context for a really healthy, productive day. And you're just going to have way better energy patterns as opposed to the dip at 1 or 2 p.m., which is a natural thing. And we can get into circadian rhythms and stuff like that. But just having a really solid morning routine, whatever that means for you, makes this whole process much, much, much easier.
Well, what I found in my personal life, and I'm sure that your studies have kind of confirmed this overall, is that it was easiest for me to adjust my morning routine. And if I started waking up earlier, then my body naturally started to get to a point where it knew it's bedtime and I would start falling asleep. And my wife jokes because, again, when I lay down to go to sleep, I am falling asleep and probably out within 5 minutes. I have no idea what else is going on. And then when my alarm goes off, I am getting up.
Yep.
Now, that doesn't always mean that I am out of my bed right at that moment, right? I get out of bed, turn off the alarm, and I'm taking my time. When I'm on my game, really, it's getting down to the gym. But what I refuse to do is hit that snooze and mess up my sleep again. There's for those that are watching that are interested on waking up earlier, if you want to find a simple way to start waking up earlier without impacting your overall schedule, we're headed towards daylight savings time, whether it ends or begins. I can't remember which one is which, but it's the fall back.
Yeah, you can
so
get more time.
Instead of getting that extra hour of sleep, quote unquote, set that alarm an extra hour earlier. Your body wakes up at the time that it's been waking up, and now you've just created an extra hour in your day.
That's brilliant, man.
Without even, I stole that from somebody else.
Well, think about it, dude. It's 30. You're going to get an extra 7 hours a week by waking up when you're already waking up. You're not going to change anything. You literally don't change. Wake up earlier, but it's not earlier. It's the same.
Yep.
And you got that extra hour. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I say this all the time, right? Your body does not know what time it is, right? Your body doesn't really know what the clock says because time is a man-made thing. Mm-hmm. Now, it does have some connection into what's going on with the sun, what's going on with the moon. It'll know nighttime versus daytime, but it doesn't know what time the clock says, right?
100%,
so if you choose to wake up an hour earlier, easiest way to do it, that Sunday night or that Saturday night when daylight savings time is changing.
Is that this week, do you know?
That I don't know. Now anymore I know
Find
less.
out.
My cell phone does it automatically.
I know. It's just getting too easy. Dude, I was watching, have you ever heard of the Disney movie WALL-E?
Yeah,
Have you
the
seen it?
little robot dude, right?
Yeah. Have
Yeah,
you seen the movie?
I have not.
All right, I don't want to spoil it for you. It's really good. Number one, it's awesome. I think a lot of the kids' movies are actually made for mom and dad because there's like a lot of like subliminal messaging, like
Somebody's got to take him to see it.
100%. And so, anyways, the whole gist is that the Earth is so polluted, humans can't live here anymore, and so like this, basically Amazon-esque company called Big Lots or Big and Cheap or something like that. They build a cruise ship that goes to outer space, and everybody's just weighted and catered to by robots and machines, and they're just fat blobs. They don't have any bones anymore. They can't get out of their chairs. And I was like, oh God, this is terrifying. I wonder if this is where we're going in a couple hundred years.
Yeah, who knows? What that's going to look like. And so as we take a look at one other aspect of sleep, or if you were to leave us with three things, right, that can impact sleep. Now, I want to caution people from trying to build three habits at once or changing. Start with one, right? Start and master one. You may not have to master the others. They may just happen naturally. But if we were going to leave with three things that can help impact somebody's sleep in a positive way, we talked about the electronics.
Yep.
Limit the TV, get rid of the cell phone, put it in another part of the room, another part of the house. Maybe it's in the bathroom. And we talked about not hitting the snooze button. And I think that's probably one of the most difficult for people. That's a habit we're not even aware of anymore, right? Just roll over, hit that button, and get an extra 5 minutes or 9 minutes or whatever that's set to. What would be one other one that you would say would positively impact somebody's sleep?
Yeah. Well, I think, I'm all about minimum effective dose. Like find the really easy stuff and change that right away. So I would say number one is environment. A lot of our behavior as humans is dictated by the space that we're in. There's the physical space, like our body, that our consciousness kind of is in. If we don't have a healthy body, that's not going to work really well for us. But also the external environment, right? Like you want a room that's cold, you want a room that's dark, and you want a room that's quiet and also safe. If you don't feel safe at night in your house, you're just going to have one hell of a hard time sleeping. And so whatever you need to do to get to a place where you feel safe, where you're, mess with the temperature a little bit. I like it right around 67, 68 degrees. 212 would be real aggressive. 68 degrees.
That'd be warm.
That'd be warm. Yeah. Sauna, different story. I could do that. So cold, dark, quiet, right, and safe. And so, whatever cold means for you, you want to be able to, if you get out of the covers, be like, oh, okay, yeah, it's like a little bit cold. When we get into the covers, all that heat's going to just keep us nice and warm from our body. Dark and quiet, so no lights. Try to get some blackout curtains. And then quiet would be obviously any sort of background noise. Fan is probably okay, right? Some sort of like white noise is okay. TV on, blaring out, these messages into your brain while you're sleeping from the news media probably isn't the best use of your time. But I would say
during political season,
especially right now, man, you're going to wake up and be voting for the other side. You're like, what happened? I don't know why I'm thinking all this. So that would be like, dude, low-hanging fruit, super easy option is just clean up your environment. And then outside of that, behaviorally, go to bed and wake up at the same time every single day. Yes, even on Friday. Yes, even on Saturday. Yes, even on Sunday. So for a lot of us, we've adjusted to this 5-day work week. This thing came about after I think it was the Industrial Revolution. Before that, it was agriculture. We just basically worked all day, every day. Big industry came, machines and factories. And we adopted a 5-day work week. Monday through Friday is a work week. Saturday, Sundays, vacation and party, right? But what we don't see is the bigger pattern at play when we're constantly disrupting our sleep by staying up late and then sleeping in later the next day to catch up on that. By the time we hit Monday, we're just all fucking out of sorts. Our circadian rhythm's trying to get back on what it wants to be, right? We're trying to get back into a normal routine. This is by far the easiest thing that you can do that's going to have the biggest benefit to you is just experiment with it for a month. Try it for a weekend even and see how awesome you feel on Monday morning when you're driving into work versus everybody else who's sleep deprived, hungover, and tired.
Yeah. And I love that. And I've built my sleep patterns really around what we've talked about, and done it from a young age. And again, I remember in college, there were times where I didn't have that. I would hit the snooze button, and it's amazing how much worse I was sleeping through the night.
Yep.
And the biggest change for me, the simplest thing was, okay, alarm's on the other side of the room, alarm goes off, get out of bed. And the rest of it just started to happen on its own. So, as we wrap up kind of those things, and I think you gave us a bonus one with the habit around waking up and going to bed at the same time. But it's one, eliminate or reduce the electronics, right? Take the TV down out of the bedroom, put the cell phone somewhere else, and put it on do not disturb. Don't hit the snooze button. Just when that alarm goes off, get up and get going. Yes, it's going to be tough to start with, and your body will adapt, and you'll start getting better sleep, and you won't even miss it. Your environment, make sure that it's cold, it's dark, it's quiet. If you don't feel safe, let me know, and I can find you a new home.
That's perfect.
Perfect. Wake up and go to bed at the
Yeah.
same time every day. So,
Yeah.
Colby, again, man, hey, I so appreciate your time. This has been a fantastic conversation. And for those that are watching, I hope that you've enjoyed it as well. If you're not catching them live, you can always catch it on our team Facebook page, my personal Facebook page. They're also being uploaded onto my YouTube channel. So make sure you connect with us there. Colby, if I'm looking for more conversations with you specifically about my health, fitness, my diet, my sleeping patterns, how do I get a hold of you?
Yeah, man, Facebook's the best way, to be honest. Just search for Colby Knepp. I think I'm the only one on the planet. I have yet to find another one, but you'll find me, man. Facebook's the best way. Send me a Facebook message. If you, for one reason, don't use Facebook, you can just go to my website. It's colbyknepp.com, COLBYKNEPP, as in Peter Paul. And there's a contact form on there that you can reach out. But right on, man. Appreciate what you're doing, Matt. Thank you, sir.
Awesome. Colby, again, thanks so much.